Hey, welcome back, my friend. My name is Danny Dumas, and this is the Earn Your Title Podcast. About 10 years ago, I started a personal training business. We did group coaching, and I had a friend of mine who he signed up to join, and we were doing some sprints. And he came up to me. He's like, Danny, he's out of breath. He's like, I think I have asthma. And as a paramedic, I kind of go in and out of these like mental models. Like I know when I'm at work that I'm going to see some really bad things. And when someone tells me they have a problem, I assume it's an emergency because they called 911. I said, okay, what's the matter? He's like, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I said, okay, you can't breathe. I said, well, do you have asthma? Do you have your inhaler? I'll go get it. He's like, oh no, I don't think I have asthma. I think I'm just getting asthma. Like he just caught it. And then my paramedic brain kind of turned off for a second and my personal trainer brain went in. I said, hey, does it get better when you stop running? He said, yeah. And I said, man, I'm sorry to say this, but you're just out of shape. And he laughed. He's like, that's what it is. I'm like, yeah, you can't breathe because your heart doesn't have the ability to keep up with your aerobic demands. And he's like, oh, okay. And I've done this the other way where at our church, we were doing a blood pressure Sunday. So there's some nurses and doctors and paramedics. We're taking people's blood pressure, and I took someone's blood pressure. It was like 150 over 80. I said, you're all good. And then I stopped. I'm like, wait, no, I'm sorry. You do have high blood pressure. It's just not an emergency. My brain was, in paramedic mode, 150 over 80 is no big deal. You're not dying of that, but it was high blood pressure. So what's the point? The point is that you might not have a great understanding of what it feels like to work out and what it feels like to be out of breath. And so I'm going to hopefully give you a little bit of understanding on the challenges of working out. And as I've gotten older, this is the challenge. Am I dying or am I just sore? It used to be when I would work out, I could work out real hard and maybe I'll get a little bit of soreness the next day if I did like really heavy legs or really some eccentric exercise that was tough, and then I'd be fine. Well, as I get older, I find I get much more sore, and I'm constantly battling this idea of, am I injured or am I just sore? So I'm going to break down with you some of the things that I've taken away, some of the things I've learned. And because this is the beginning of the year, if you started on January 1st, you've been going at it for almost a week. So first, if that's you, good job, bro. You're killing it. And I'm sure if you haven't been working out, you are sore than you've ever been in your entire life. So how do you know if the soreness is injury or it's just being sore? So let's start. If you are working out and something hurts instantly, stop. Soreness shouldn't come to you in like an instant, like boom, you are automatically sore. Now you might have some burning if, like, say you're doing like sled pulls or pushes. Those can burn your legs up like no other. That is not what I'm talking about. It's the pain in the joint. It's the pain in your back. It's a snapping or a popping. If there's a pain, that's definitely not soreness, and it's like very specific, meaning it is exactly like in one spot. You can take not your middle finger. You can take your index finger and touch it and go, that's the spot. That's probably an injury, or it's something that you should at least not keep doing. So soreness comes over usually like several days. There's a thing called the DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness. That is okay. It's okay to be sore when you work out. The other thing that I think it's important to realize is that the extent to which you are sore is not the extent to which you've got a good workout. Like if you work out and you're not sore the next day or the next day after that, it doesn't mean the workout was bad or you didn't get adaptations. It probably just means you've been doing that style of workout. Usually the DOMS or the delayed onset muscle soreness occurs when you've done something that you haven't done normally. Now, maybe you squat all the time, but you squatted heavy, or maybe you squat heavy all the time, but you squatted, with high reps. Usually it's when you're changing something up that you get soreness, and it's okay. So anything that hurts instantaneously, stop. When I was younger, I didn't do this. I'm like, oh, well, that feels weird. Weird being stop, right? I'm asking you to, now it doesn't mean you have to stop your whole workout, but stop the thing that you were doing. So let's say you're doing back squats, you stand up and you're going heavy that day. Maybe you're not doing 1 round max, but you're doing like your 5 rep max, and man, my back feels weird. Go ahead and stop. Now, maybe try a body weight squat and see what that feels like. Maybe cut your squats in half. If you had 200 on the bar, take off 100 and see what that feels like. If it still feels weird, stop. It's way better to not get injured and not have as good of a workout than to try to get the perfect workout to hit your numbers and then not be able to work out for 3 months. So I just want you to listen. And I didn't do that for a very long time as a young man. And as an older man, I have gotten much better, man. If something's just not right, I stop. Maybe, and I don't stop the workout. I just do something different. Maybe I just hop on the treadmill and walk for 30 minutes. That's okay. So the red flags, anytime you feel a pain, especially in a joint, stop. That could be an injury as opposed to a just general soreness. Soreness is a dull, achy pain. It's not a sharp or stabbing pain. That is soreness. So what is actually soreness? Well, soreness is inflammation. And inflammation gets a bad rap, but you cannot recover, you cannot grow, you cannot heal without inflammation. So all healing requires inflammation. This is an inflammatory response, but not all inflammation is healing. So there's a balancing act. You are healing or you are inflamed because you are tearing your muscles. They call them micro tears. And the way we get stronger and build bigger muscles is those tears heal through the inflammation process. They grow bigger and stronger. So you need to have that. But what you don't need to have is bruising. You don't need to have swelling. That is when the inflammatory response is bigger than what it needed to be. And it could be because there's an injury, not just muscle soreness due to micro tears. So you're always weighing that. What does this inflammation say? Now, how do I get rid of the soreness? How do I get rid of the inflammation? Now, something that's very interesting, and this is different from person to person, but for me, I am a 2-day sore person. If I do heavy legs one day, on Monday, on Tuesday, I actually feel pretty good. It's Wednesday morning when I wake up and I go to sit on the toilet and I can't stand up. That 2-day, man, it gets me. And I know some people are different, but for me, it's at day 2. So what really helps is if I did heavy legs on Monday, on Tuesday, I do light legs or something that moves moves my legs, gets them in motion. And then on Wednesday, I do the same thing. Even if I'm doing arms or upper body on Wednesday, I do something with my leg, and the movement creates a decrease in soreness. And I think it's moving the blood through your system. It's facilitating the inflammation process, the things that are, inflaming that area. It's moving the blood flow, getting plenty of blood flow through there, and it's helping. So keep moving. That's the key. There is a hierarchy of inflammation control. The first one being sleep. If you've listened to this podcast at all, you know I'm a big proponent of getting adequate amounts of sleep. Sleep is where your body gets rid of bad things, and the more sleep we get, the better we are, the stronger we are, the more athletic we are. So go to sleep, which is awesome because sleep is so much fun. So sleep being the first one. Number 2, nutrition and hydration. Staying well hydrated is really going to increase the ability for your body to recover. Having the food that it needs, which if you're trying to gain muscle, it's going to be protein, is really important. So get sleep, eat right, make sure you're hydrated. And then an active recovery, that word gets thrown around a lot, but I think you could just say move the joints, move the limbs, move the muscles that you were using that are sore, even though it hurts, right? Now, again, we have to always balance. If you think you're injured and not just sore, you have to be careful with the moving the thing that hurts because it might need to be rested. But if you're leaning towards, I think I'm just sore, I'm not injured, move it. Nice, slow movements, working your way up to slightly heavier movements, full range of motions. And last, a massage, a cold pack, or a hot pack, I should say. So, gadgets, if you will. It's the things that can facilitate foam rollers. All those can help. So get plenty of sleep, eat right, hydrate, move. And then if you need a massage from a massage gun or something, go ahead and do that. Try not to push through the injuries because those can really set you back for quite a while. So let's say you are extremely sore and you open up your medicine cabinet and you see that bottle of Motrin and you think, man, I could take 2 of these, 3 of these, 4 of these, whatever the dose is, and I could feel better. Why would you not want to do it? And when should you do it, right? Because you don't get any bonuses for being in excessive amounts of pain. You don't get stronger the more in pain you are. So should we just control all the pain? Well, not necessarily. Pain is a benefit, right? It's the body's way of telling you, hey, something in this area is wrong. Be careful with it. So one, you don't want to completely blunt the pain because it might tell you, hey, you're injured. Say your shoulder hurts. You take Motrin, the pain goes away, and you keep lifting and keep working out. Well, the shoulder hurt because it was a tear, not just sore. And now you've done more damage because you've taken away the pain. So some of the pain is beneficial. The other thing it can do, let's say you're trying to get ripped, man. This is 2026. You are going to blow up. You want to be just this massively ripped dude, 6-pack abs, big biceps. Taking an anti-inflammatory can slow down the repair process, which gives you the bigger muscle. So by taking the anti-inflammatories, you decrease your ability to adapt. Pros and cons though. If taking it means you can go work out a little bit more and it is just soreness, maybe you want to do that, and maybe you don't care at all about getting big. You just really, it's getting in the way of your life being sore because you can't walk down steps. That would be a time to take it. The other thing, there's a little bit of medical data on taking NSAIDs, which are going to be things like Motrin, that it can weaken the ligaments and tendons. Take that for what it is. Science changes and there's a lot of science, but it could weaken your tendons and your ligaments, therefore making it harder for you to get stronger and build that, rock solid body. You can kind of think of this as maybe you're building your house, right? You're building your strength house, but the foundation is not quite as strong because you're constantly blunting that adaptation process and you're decreasing the weakness or the strength of your tendons and ligaments. So just be careful with that. But there's definitely times to take ibuprofen, or I should say, there are definitely sometimes to take medicine. Let's say, for instance, you're just in pain and the pain is causing you like challenges at work. Maybe you can't sit at your desk. Well, instead of taking an anti-inflammatory, maybe you take something like Tylenol. Tylenol is not going to affect the inflammation process. It's going to attack the pain of the inflammation. So maybe you just take some Tylenol and skip the anti-inflammatories. That can help. The other thing is if your soreness is causing you to have a hard time sleeping, that's the time to take Motrin. Because again, if we go in our hierarchy of how to get rid of soreness, sleep, nutrition, hydration, active movement, and then your gadgets, go get sleep. So take some pain medicine, take that Motrin so that you can go to sleep, because that's how you're going to prevent being sore. So if you are sore and you're trying to get rid of it, I wouldn't jump right to medication. The gold standard of getting rid of this outside of the things that you can actually do as opposed to sleep and hydration is going to be the active recovery. Taking a 10-minute walk, even if you're really, really sore. I ran a marathon and I was so sore the next day, but getting up and moving around, the lotion was motion, the motion was lotion. It just got things moving. It made me feel really good. The other thing you can do that won't affect the adaptation of your inflammation response is just a topical cream, something with lidocaine in it or methanol in it. It kind of tricks your body so the nerves sense that and they stop sensing pain. So that can be beneficial. And then obviously you could take something like a Tylenol, which is acetaminophen, that stops the pain. And then if you need to, ibuprofen or naproxen, it can be okay to take that. It's a miracle drug. It can help a lot, but just use that in caution. Just use that as I want to say a last resort, but put some thought into it. Don't just think I'm sore, I'm taking medicine. The other thing, this is kind of a safety note, anti-inflammatories, Motrin, they affect your kidneys. So if you're going to be taking something like Motrin, please stay hydrated. We sell things like Tylenol, aspirin, Motrin over the counter, and you think, oh, these are really safe. But they do have an effect on your body, and you can't overdose on these. So be careful. If 400 milligrams of Motrin will do it, don't take 800. You don't need that. You don't need that strain on your body, on your kidneys. So be careful with that. So when it comes down to it, I want you guys to get strong. I want you to work hard. And if you've made it this far in the year, you've probably made it farther than most, right? You've gone a whole week of working out. Congratulations. Good job. I don't want you to be in pain, but realize some pain is okay. Some pain is not okay. I want you to err on the side of taking care of yourself. Go for that active recovery. If that doesn't help, take some NSAIDs, take some Motrin. If that doesn't help, and it's been 2 days, you might need to go get a professional, help. Go to your doctor, go get an x-ray. You don't want to do damage, right? You want to, walk that tightrope of too much work, not enough work. You don't want to overtrain. And I heard someone say something, I think I agree with it. There is no overtraining. They're just under recovering. So we need to definitely recover and go out. I'm hoping you're going to make 2026 the best year ever. If you could leave a review for this podcast, this would help make my 2026 the best year I've ever had. I hope you've enjoyed this. My name is Danny Dumas, and this is the Earn Your Title Podcast, and I will talk to you later. Bye.